It's like it's such an ego trap that's really hidden that on some level, we're actually, our ego tries to catch us in all these different things and tries to convince us like, well, if you're not worried about this all the time, then, who are you? You're a terrible person, this and that. And it's like, who do I think I am to actually be the one I can make foreign policy decisions. That's not my role in this life. Like I am just one person among billions. So like humbling ourselves back to like what we can do, which is be in our highest frequency, treat the people around us with love, create a ripple of well-being. And we can't create that ripple. We can't be in our dharma and our magic if we're in stress and worry and concern about things we can't control.
2, 1, 0.
Hi, and welcome to the show. This was yet another really fun, extraordinary conversation with an incredible woman, incredible human being. Her name is Allison Pelissier, and I had the honor of pleasure of meeting her in person and now having her on the show, which was such a lovely, good feel, happy conversation with a really sweet, kind, and enlightened human being. Allison Pelissier has been gifted with extraordinary abilities as well as high level of subtle energy sensitivity. Allison's deepest desire has always been to support people to rise into their most aligned expression. Allison offers intuitive and energetic healing sessions, as well as sessions with coherent technology, such as the Lucia Light. And in this episode, you will learn more about the Lucia Light. We talked about her journey. We talked about how to get centered and just detach from the noise and just do you and be your authentic self and rise, and how to break old patterns and move forward and be your best self ever, ever expanding, ever growing, ever evolving, and just being the most magical you that you can be. And now, without further ado, on to the show. Hi, Allison, and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I am so excited. We met at a Maverick trip a few months ago, and you are such an incredible human. Like you're radiating like this. Some people are just magnetic, and you're one of them. And I'm so happy you're here, and we can talk about all kinds of things together.
Thank you. Wonderful. I'm excited.
So, before we begin, can you share a little bit about yourself and your journey and uh, what you were doing today?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I'm in Bali. I just got up a couple hours ago and had my little morning meditation and movement, just getting the day going. And yeah, my life has been rather extraordinary, which I'm very excited about. I started off in more of the field of education and development because that really helped me as a child to kind of emerge from challenging situations into coming into my power and my sovereignty. And then that really kind of evolved into doing healing work and supporting people and really living the life of my dreams of traveling the world and experiencing different cultures and raising consciousness.
That's amazing. So, you were a teacher?
Yeah, so I actually have a master's degree in international education and development. I worked for many years in education and psychology, from schools in Harlem teaching reading to working in Thailand as a science teacher at a bilingual school. I ended up actually writing a science book for the school. I rewrote their science book to be much more fun and engaging, which was a really fun project. And I've also worked in Nepal. I was teaching teachers English and actually teaching the children meditation and yoga as well. and kind of reintroducing that into their culture, which was an interesting role. But yeah, so I've worked in a lot of different capacities in education originally.
Wow, it's like a foreigner teaching Japanese how to wear a kimono.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. It's so funny. I mean, the moment was kind of strange, for me because I actually went to Nepal thinking, oh, wow, I have so much to learn. But in the, remote hills where I was at this little international school, there was, there's a real disconnect from even basic concepts of yoga and meditation. And, we're so privileged to have the opportunity to really be able to tune into spirit and make that a part of our life, where many people that are living day to day don't really have that option to get to that place of curiosity, to start exploring the spirit. And in a lot of cultures, because of globalization and the way culture has changed, a lot of these ancient secrets and magic and connection have been lost.
Yes. How did you discover yoga and meditation?
Yeah, so actually when I was a figure skater, ice skater when I was younger. I was really obsessed with that for a while, and that really brought me actually into yoga. So one of the complementary practices for ice skating was yoga, and it to me was a way to ice skate when I wasn't ice skating, because I was, yeah, so I was basically, babysitting starting when I was 12 and doing, saving whatever money I could to contribute because ice skating was quite expensive. My parents were rather horrified that that was my main interest. Um, so, yeah, so I got to try yoga, and ice skating really helped me to clear my head, to come to my center, to really embody, elegance and grace. And there was something about the silence of the and the cool air of the ice skating rink that really helped me come to my center. And I used to go every morning before school, but a lot of other skaters at my level were going, 4 hours a day and things like this. And I couldn't do that. So I got to try yoga. And then I realized a whole other dimension of spirit in working on the mat and being able to really center myself there. And so, yeah, I actually got an opportunity to experience that around age like 13 or 14. And while the ice skating kind of disappeared out of my life, yoga remained. And I got to go to India. I decided to do my yoga teacher training originally in India about 14 years ago, 15 years ago. And yeah, because I wanted to have the more authentic experience. And these days I don't teach yoga per se. I mean, I have a retreat coming up and I'll be doing a few yoga courses, sessions there. But it's part of my daily practice. And, really the asana, as many people know, is, that connection to source. And so that's just one way to move the body to kind of come to our center of meditation.
Right. How many countries have you been in?
A lot. I actually haven't counted. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, I could, but it's more, the way I live is less methodical and more in that feminine flow of just being really present. And then something opens, and I'm like, oh, yes, that. And the next opportunity arises, and I kind of flow to where I'm feeling called.
And how do you keep yourself so open and flexible?
I think different people have different strengths, and a lot of it, of course, comes from our childhood and our coping mechanisms. And certain people, I feel like, become more rigid as a way to attempt to control. And for me, growing up in kind of a unpredictable environment, I think agility became a coping mechanism that was really helpful for me. And so, while some people might find it challenging to kind of live the lifestyle that I live, I really enjoy it. And my challenge actually in 2024, I'm really stepping into a bit more structure and finding places in my life where, I can bring in all the magic and I can manifest and I can create this, incredible divine chaos, but when it comes to really being super ordered, like getting systems in my business, that's where actually I have challenges.
Wow,
So,
you need to find people to do that for you. Um,
yeah,
what what do you
exactly.
wanna?
I'm
What's
getting
your
help.
dream for 2024? What do you want to achieve?
In 2024, like I said, I think it's more kind of coming back to the center and creating more systems, and in the systems, actually being able to expand my reach and really share from my heart my gifts and my learnings over the years. Over the last year, I was dealing with some health situations, and I've resolved that, and I feel this new level of gratitude for being able to live in my expression, and new renewal of the preciousness of life, really, and how quickly things can pass. So it's, being present and really honoring the beauty of the present, and kind of really acting and growing from that. And so it's kind of like the vision I see is more of like, the ray of sun, and the way, without clouds in the sky, it can just like beam like so far. And I feel like the clouds are just, the stresses and worries and chaos, not the chaos magic, but the chaos that we bring in, and the doubt and the overwhelm and all of that. And when those clouds are not really there, it's just like that divine energy, that source light can just reach really far and bright. And so I'm not sure what that looks like exactly. I feel like it's still unfolding, but that's kind of the vision that I keep getting.
And is it about like your business? Is it about healing more people, touching more people, souls, having more retreats? What is it a little bit like? I know you don't know the vision exactly, but if you did know, what would it be?
Yeah. So yeah, I do a few things. I do intuitive readings and energy healings personally, and then I also work with practitioners. I work with light technologies, and so I guess, really in terms of touching people, I feel like, making community is a really, supporting community is something I'm very passionate about, and kind of education about what we can really achieve when we're centered in divinity and coming from our hearts. So I think that, yeah, I mean, I have a retreat here in a couple weeks, but then I think it's more about creating things on a larger scale. I love working with practitioners in particular, because they already touch so many people. I love working with musicians. So I love really finding, connecting with people that I feel real soul resonance with, that have a large reach, because I think that, a lot of people who are in touch with a lot of people are, um, it's a lot of energy, and so being able to be that support and centering and love and light can really help them in their frequency when they reach people. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think more classes. I'm working on some courses right now, and yeah, sharing about these different technologies of light and sound and vibration that can really help us and in our path and in our frequency. And I'm just open to seeing the ways that the universe can support me in expanding those.
Yes. I want more freedom for myself in 2024 where I'm just like you like I resonate with the idea of expanding, reaching out to more people, touching more lives, helping more people and most of all having this freedom and inner peace no matter what the container looks like. That's what I want for myself. Like just to be happier, more connected, because when you experience enlightenment, it's sometimes it feels like it's a moment of enlightenment and then we go back to duality and our world and the chaos, and then you can like touch it again and go back. How do you think we can stay in that expansion a little more and dance better between duality and non-duality?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I feel like 2023 was a lot about that for me. I thought I had reached that more. And then really dealing with some health situations brought me to the next level of that, in a big way. And that's actually one of the things I really work with people at. And There's many different strategies and it depends on the person, but I think really presence is the number one. We have so much in our society that's like about action and doing and going for it. And, we can certainly be those productive, amazing people, but it has to come from a sense of presence unfolding. And when we're acting from presence unfolding, then what arises and what we're capable of is so much more than we could ever expect. Whereas when we're putting, allowing our even goals and projections about how we think things are going to be, or self judgments, or needs to accomplish, or needs to be seen or met with approval, there's all of these, those are the clouds I was speaking of. This is like all the challenges. Like, we don't know how long anything's going to last. And so the more we can just be present with each moment as it arises and be really acting from that space of presence, the more things really can align for us.
Yeah, it seems like the people that are controlling the media and the people that are deciding which country will fight with which country and when even like to the degree of it harp technology and all that, where some natural disasters are going to be. Like, it's almost like we're living inside a game. We're living inside of a matrix. We're living inside a matrix within a matrix within a matrix. It's very interesting because on one hand there are the people that are controlling and programming us through programs like TV, like news, like social media, and algorithms that decide what we need to see or not see, and are really in tune with our emotion. So we are fed so much noise, and we really need to learn how to put the boundaries and come back to presence, because it's really hard to be present when you're listening to all the noise. And like, even like, YouTube reels, all those like quick things, all the quick dopamine hits, it's addictive. Like, you want to focus on yourself and be in the line and all that, and they're like, wait a minute, but that hair mask looks so interesting right now on my reels. Like, how, let me stop it. And then 30 minutes later it's like, what? It was just 10 p.m. How did it become 10:30? So what do you do to center yourself and be present and like detach from all the noise? And because, like you said, life is not predictable. We don't know what God is planning for us. We don't know what other people are planning for us, as far as government and all that. And at the end of the day, it's all God. But how do we handle all those, oh my God, I'm so enlightened, I feel so great, but life hits and there is this and that, and I feel like I took 10 steps backwards.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people are going through that. And I think it's wild because we become more conscious and then we're actually more sensitive. So it's this wild journey. But, for me, what I really recommend and what I work with my clients is, really structuring your day in a way that you're not, centering your day in a way that you're not really focusing or allowing all of this noise to come in, and having our reminders. So when you have your reminders to yourself of like, oh my gosh, the governments and these wars and all these things that I can't control, right? First of all, the reminder is that humanity has always been at war. And, unfortunately, this has been kind of the way of the unfolding. There's always different things happening. And in the past, we just weren't aware of it. Right now, there's so much that we're aware of that it can be overwhelming. And the other thing is putting our ego in check. Yes, we can do what we can. So it's like if you're feeling really intensely about a cause or a situation that's happening, then you find some way to express, to help. And then, to make your impact, whether how big or small, maybe make a donation to a cause. Then let it go, because you are not so powerful to actually be able to control it. And I think this has been one of the big things. It's like it's such an ego trap that's really hidden, that on some level, we're actually, our ego tries to catch us in all these different things and tries to convince us like, well, if you're not worried about this all the time, then, who are you? You're a terrible person. You're, this and that. And it's like, who do I think I am to actually be the one to, I can't make foreign policy decisions. That's not my role in this life. Like, I'm just one person among billions. So like humbling ourselves back to like what we can do, which is be in our highest frequency, treat the people around us with love, create a ripple of well-being. And we can't create that ripple. We can't be in our dharma and our magic if we're in stress and worry and concern about things we can't control. And so as we center in that love in our hearts of knowing that we're doing our very best, then from that centering space, there's less interest in getting online and scrolling and doing all this because we have a divine mission. We have a purpose, and that purpose is to be present and to hold our frequency and to show up in love and to care and to create that, and from that space, instead of being interested in getting online and scrolling, maybe we're interested in spending our time in this creative way where we can tap back into our creative passion and energy of like, oh, I want to actually make a new course, or like, I haven't written a long letter to a friend for so long. I'm going to do that. Or, oh my gosh, there's a creative project I could spend my time doing, and it can really shift us from this space. And for sure, like there's all these forces out there that are trying to get us to, pay attention to this, news, or look at this or look at that. And it's just like, that practice of just being like, okay, like I see you. And actually, I'm way more excited about something else. They can really catch us when we don't have that excitement and enthusiasm in our lives. That's when we can fall.
Yes. How do you use you said you use sound technologies and light technology. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, we're made of vibration. And so that's also another great way to come to our center. And, for me, I've been through a lot of different challenges in my life, and it's made me stronger because it's made me realize what's really important. And one of the tools that really helped me in a moment when I had some pretty bad PTSD was a tool called the Lucia light, which is solid and flickering light. And light and sound and vibration can actually work on our field in a way that's very different than just through the mind. Like a lot of psychotherapy and stuff, we can get into the mind, but ultimately, our frequency, as we spoke about, is this vibration. And so the light uses solid light with a wider spectrum of like the halogen. So it's more like the sun. You close your eyes, you feel this warmth, and then the flickering starts, and the flickering gently guides the brain into different brainwave states. But instead of just saying, oh, it takes you to theta, what it's actually doing is helping your brain come back to what its natural rhythms are. Because every brain is so unique. Like we're so incredibly unique. And so instead of trying to control us, I really love coherence technology. So we're not working on entrainment, but we're working towards coherence. And when we work with tools that help us come back to our coherence, then we have more freedom in our lives. We have more centering. So, like we said, it's like, okay, well, like I said before, yeah, just come to your center and your inspiration, then you're not going to do that stuff. Well, that can be really challenging for people. They're like, oh, yeah, sure. Like, how do you do that? That's one thing to say that, but like, I'm not inspired to do an art project right now. And it's like, well, tools like the Lucia Light can help us get out of stuck patterning in our brain waves. And again, we're multidimensional beings, so it can show up in our brain waves. It doesn't mean our brain waves are everything. It's just one indicator. But light frequencies can help us come back to our center and help us to process things that are on a deep level, because we can have some kind of stuck experience. The way I see it intuitively is I can see kind of like a dark ball in people's field that's kind of pulsing, and so I can see where that's like, ooh, that's like a stuck experience, and when the light moves through, it can start moving that. And so then sometimes people have memories or things arise during the experience, and then it releases, and it's just like, oh, I don't have to hold that weight anymore. And it's things that we didn't even realize we were consciously holding can start releasing. So the Lucia light's really great, There's also a lot of like vibrational things now that are also wonderful. I mean, sound healing is an example of vibrational, sound technology, singing bowls and gongs and things. And I often do that with the light sessions as well. And there's also like beds that you can lay on now that vibrate, that I think are really wonderful. There's so much, and different things are coming through all the time. So I think it's actually a really exciting moment where we're kind of taking a lot of wisdom, like this ancient wisdom, and then bringing it into technology. And of course, the number one technology in the world is Mother Nature. So, yeah. So, a great reminder also that, if we're feeling stressed or having things arising, that just going to nature. Nature is a huge cure for, so much. Nature, mama can hold us unconditionally the way that no one else can. She's there for us. And just immersing yourself in nature and breathing and looking around and getting curious and letting all this green light come into your perception, seeing new life and growth, or if it's in the winter, seeing snow and that magic, whatever it is, just really tuning in with nature can help our whole energetic field kind of come back, to its center.
So you're in Bali right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in Bali right
How
now.
often do you
Hmm.
see nature and or go out in nature?
Oh, all the time. I mean, even just now I'm looking out the window and there's these beautiful birds of paradise, flowers, and like the rice fields. And, for me, it's life is essential where I can see nature from wherever I am. So even if it's in winter, I have to have windows open where I can look out, because it's really a huge, huge aspect for me. And then, of course, spending time every day walking around, and just going outside. You can even just stand outside for 10 minutes and your whole vibe shifts. It's incredible. And yeah, it's really wonderful.
So how did you get involved with the Lucia Light? Where did you find about it, and how did you decided to start working with it?
I was doing my master's degree in England, and I was going through a really big challenge. My father had passed away, and we were super close, and he was kind of like a pillar of safety in my life in a big way. And so when he passed, all this childhood trauma started coming up. I had crazy PTSD arise. I wasn't sleeping. I had all kinds of stuff I was going through. And I was trying to do a master's degree. And there's no sun. It was like a really different climate than I was from Colorado to be in England. It was like a big shift. So a friend of mine invited me to an art gallery, and I was not into healing things. I was much more, I was tuned in to like meditation, but I was like not wanting to admit there was anything wrong with me. I was a strong person. I could make it through. I didn't need help, and that was my vibe. And yeah, and so I ended up going to this art gallery, and yeah, right there they had a Lucia light, and we got to try it. And I remember doing 2 minutes, and then they're like, "Do you want to do more?" And I was like, "Yes." And then 3 minutes, and then 20 minutes. And in the 20 minutes, I went so deep. I really had an experience of connecting with my father had passed away. He told me to be happy, which is what,
Wow. So you actually had a psychedelic experience with the light.
yeah, yeah, it was totally. And every experience for people is different, and I think a lot of it is what you need in that moment. So I've had people say like, "Oh, well, I didn't have an experience of seeing." So I'm like, "Well, you're lucky. That means you're not in that place where you needed that, like the light kind of gives you what you need." And sometimes it's just to relax. A lot of people need to relax and just kind of start reworking their nervous system as the first layer. But I was so out of whack. What my spirit really wanted was that sense of peace, and on that level that only that kind of experience could provide. And it helped me really reawaken my third eye, because I was really highly intuitive when I was a child. And then through puberty and trying to fit into society and everything, a lot of that got majorly toned down. It was still kind of like psychic on some level, but it wasn't. It was more like out of fear than out of like really love. Like more hyper vigilant psychic than actually tuned in. And working with the Lucia light really helped me to realign. And after that first experience, I started sleeping again through the night. I felt happiness again. Yeah, it was really earth shifting. And so I was like, I have to get involved with this technology.
You've been through a lot, a lot, and it's great that you're who you are, and you're taking all the lessons, and you just want to help people with it. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always been that. I mean, I remember even as a child, I would just lay in bed and be like, this world is messed up. Like, what is going on here? I need to help out. Like, this is crazy. Like, how is this happening? Like, how are people so disrespectful to the earth and everything? I was just always been really moved by it my whole life. And it's been a very humbling journey of how I can show up, and really actually the best way. And it's something that I'm consistently learning. But what I've really, touched into my whole life and really realized is the best thing we can do is be ourselves, and really come from our heart and be real, be our authentic, goofy, magical selves. That's what the world needs.
Yes, I'm actually really goofy. I laugh a lot with my little one. Like, we make up stories. He just made a uh, like a little Lego robot, and then we put a hat on it and put some paper cape on it, and it just, I love it. I love, he comes up with the most interesting creative ideas, and it's almost like I'm experiencing being a little child through him sometimes. It's really fun. I like that. I can't be like, I don't fit in this like extremely serious world. Like, I can be in a really serious situation and crack up a joke, because I can't, like when people are so serious, it's like it's almost like I can't breathe. Like, can we just relax, but just a tiny bit? And life is life is serious, but let's not just be so serious. It's tiring. That doesn't feel good in my body to be serious all the time. Are you still in a place where you're like, I got it, everything's fine in my world, I don't have any problem, or did you learn how to be more in your softer self, and ask for help when you need it?
Yeah, I definitely had to learn to ask for help. That was a big phase along the way. And it's really beautiful because I feel like I used to always be afraid to receive help. But actually, we can help each other, and the most beautiful things that, we can experience in this world is that reciprocity, right? And how we can care for each other. I think it's so healing. So, yeah, I've learned a lot.
Yes, yes. It's like, would you like an hypnosis session? I would like to get a healing session from you. Interesting. We'll talk about it later.
Yes. Yeah, I would love to do a trade with you. That'd be great. Yeah, it's so great. And I mean, and that to me is, yeah, tuning into our inner child, being goofy and having fun. Because everyone was a child. Like we all have that magic inside of us. And then caring for each other. Like I think these are like really innate qualities in everyone. And from what I've seen is just that, we get so wounded or, conditioned that people get away from those. But that's it. Like it's all pretty simple. We're looking for these complicated answers to life, but just stay in our hearts and come back to our hearts, and life happens and things get crazy and it's okay. Just keep breathing, come back, and it's gonna pass, the crazy times pass. But I think it's when we freeze and we try to grip on and hold on and control and stop things from happening. That's when it gets intense and
I don't know how many more times I will have to learn that lesson of trying to control my life. Like, every time I surrendered, magic happened. And every time something happened, I try to control it. It's like, when will I learn this lesson? When? Just like yeah, Wayne Dyer said, let go and let God. Easy for him to say is Wayne Dyer. Like,
but he had to get there. And I think that's one of the things. It's like hold these expectations on ourselves that we're just going to like change, And I think people do that in partnership too. It's like, just never do that again. It's okay this time, but never do that again. When actually, it takes time for people to change. And, the more we can laugh about it and be, open about it, then we're actually getting better at it. Just, I'm sure you're much better at, letting go than you used to be. It's just like, yeah. And we have different practices. And I think for each person, we have our things in this life that, as much work as we do on ourselves, it's just these kind of characteristics of us that start getting softer as we do all this work. But, there are original coping skills. So that's exactly how we, try to show up. And then we can kind of be like, oh, that's cute. Look, a little controlling one's coming out, or, whatever it is. And then, find some cuteness and softness and let go faster.
Yeah, especially in the last few weeks, I'm doing everything I can to just let go, let go, let go. Even in my body, like starting because I was a couch potato for a very long time, and now I'm trying to move. I took a yoga class. My God, my body is stiff as a rock. It's like, okay, we got to work on you. So like stretching more, opening more, because there is like the mind body connection. And when your body is so stiff and tight, it actually makes you dumber because there is no brain and blood flow to the brain. So it's really good to like stretch and open up. And when you open up your chest, like every time we want to protect, it's we our shoulders cave in, and my shoulders has been like, yeah, like I've been like a hunched old woman. And I'm like, no, open up. It's okay to be vulnerable. You might get hurt, but you might get incredible experiences and live a life of beauty and joy. So yes, working on it.
Good job. See, there you go. Yeah, exactly. And our body is so connected. And again, things change faster than we expect. I think on some level we have this, idea that it's going to be so hard to change. And, a lot of that, it's not. You just have to dedicate yourself to it. You have to just be like, okay, like actually I'm feeling really like, let's just get back into this, and then as soon as you start doing it, you're like, oh wow, this is actually great. And things start changing immediately. So it's yeah, it's really just stepping back in, and that's beautiful.
My shoulder, like both of them, they felt so almost like frozen. And in the last few days, I just, I kept moving them, massaging him, and they go like so many clicks, and it's it's stiff. It's not nice, but I just see the difference between now and a week ago. Incredible. Like you said, we can change so much in such a short while, and I like what you said about expectation from the people around us, which I have a lot of expectation from the world. Okay. A very high standards. And my poor husband, yes, sometimes he, I will tell him when he, said he's going to do something and he forgot, or wasn't able to, or said he's going to change his ways and didn't. But after a decade together, it really surprises me. Like things that I thought would never ever change actually have shifted the moment I let go. The moment I was like, you know what? It's okay. I accept you just the way you are. And then boom, like those things happen, and it's very surprising, shocking. People are very dynamic. People change a lot. And you have to give them the benefit of the doubt, even if they didn't do the things you want them to do 10 times. It might be the 11th or 12th times where they will come and surprise you when you're not ready for it. It's kind of beautiful to watch.
Exactly. It's so beautiful. And that's the whole presence thing again, right? Because it's like a child. Like when I taught children, one of the main things I learned is like, you really have to come into the classroom every day like it's a whole new world, because that actually allows them to be dynamic and amazing. And if you come in and you're like, oh, this kid's the bad kid, this kid's the smart kid, then you're assigning roles to them. Even if it's unconscious, they feel it. And so same with partnerships and expectations and all of this. If we just, and even with ourselves, if we show up and we just treat it like a new moment, then there's all this possibility there. And so that's really accepting people. Then they actually have a chance to change. Where if we're subconsciously still holding them in this patterning, then it's really hard. And I think that's why it's the hardest to go see your family that you're raised with, because they're holding so much expectation of how you used to be. And so it's a real challenge to kind of stay in your center and to stay in who you are, and to like not let that, expectation, unconscious expectation of who they think you are.
Impossible. Eventually it goes through, like, with my family, and I love them. After a while, like, they get to me. um and that's okay. And then we evolve, and then we have conflict, and then we have a solution, and then we become better, and then they change and I change. It's when we really accept ourselves that other people start accepting us.
Yeah, exactly. But if we're comfortable with it and we're like, "Oh, you're going to treat me like that because you think I'm going to do this," and then you're like you just don't respond, then you can change the pattern. But if you are still not accepting of yourself, then they feel that, and then the same dynamics, happen. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it triggers a belief that is actually inside of you. It's none of their doing. There's something that lives in you that they are awakening, and that's why it's so triggering. If you're healing that part of you that is triggered, and you feel safe within who you are, it won't matter anymore.
exactly. And if it's nothing to do with you, how they're acting, if you don't feel like it's connected to you in any way or it's any part of you, then it won't bother you. If you find a piece of yourself in it, then it really can trigger you. So it's, yeah, such a fun practice. We have teachers all over. We look to these great gurus or whatever, but wow, our teachers are our family, our partners, our close friends. It's amazing.
Yes, 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 for sure. And what you said about expectations and not changing the patterns over and over again, it's also can be directed toward the person you see in the mirror. Because sometimes we're not successful in some place in our life, and we're like, oh, I'm doing this again, I'm dancing this pattern again, it always happens to me, therefore it will always happen to me because this is who I am and this is my identity. But you can change your identity, and your past does not define your future. And so if you give yourself another chance and not just another chance, you might surprise yourself. And then instead of looking at yourself from the person that you've been in the past, you can have a bright image of who you want to be in the future and live your your life from that version of you, you know being gravitated toward that version, then living your life, like looking in the review mirror and reliving your past in different ways.
Yes, exactly. And that's when tools like Lucia number 3 can help, right? Because it can really create that break where you get a full reset. And that's why resetting your nervous system, doing things with your body, like yoga, right? All of these things are so helpful, because when we just come from the mind and we're like, okay, I'm going to give you another chance, there's such deeply ingrained patterning that's being held in the body, that's like, as much as our mind is on board. And it's so beautifully what you said. It's just like, invite your body to join you, invite your nervous system to join you on that journey, because you're wired in certain ways, because that's been your go-to and that's been your protection. And it takes these rewiring, whether it's breath work or light treatments or sound healing, or all these tools like yoga that we have to start actually showing our body, showing our system we're safe, we're loved, we're cared for, we can move, we're flexible, we have blood flowing, like everything is safe, we're not frozen.
We can even look younger if you want.
Yes, exactly. All of it is totally up to us.
No bot. Yeah, no bot. I'm not talking about plastic surgery. I'm talking about, like, really, like, reversing our age and our appearance.
Yeah, and your appearance totally changes depending on your inner energy. That's what people forget. It's like when people look at yourself in the mirror, you're judging like, oh, how, aligned is my nose to my lips or whatever. But when you see someone else, you're looking how shining they are, not like how many wrinkles they have. You look at like their energy, and you can feel their energy. And if someone's in a process or having a hard time or in full anxiety and clutched up, you will perceive them completely differently than if they're calm and centered and bright. You're like, wow, that's a really attractive person. It's not about their looks, it's about what energy they're holding. It's so amazing how much that can change things.
And I love what you said about, you know, get anything to help you break the pattern. Because sometimes you cannot think yourself into wellness because you're still thinking, thinking, thinking. It's a thinking war. And sometimes
Yeah,
there are,
exactly.
there is issues in your
Yeah,
tissues, and sometimes there, some like a light therapy like the Lucia light can break a pattern, or even a heart opening in yoga can release some locked trauma in the body. That's why, I had a session a long time ago when I used to practice yoga a lot. um where I don't know, the teacher held me, and my chest opened up and I started laughing, the most beautiful, liberating laugh for, like, I don't know, a few minutes. I couldn't stop laughing. It was so great. It was wonderful. And Albert Einstein said that if you have, and I don't remember the exact quote, but if you have an object that is going in one direction, it will keep going in the same direction, will keep having the same trajectory until an outside force will come and interfere it. And even a little interference of, like, just a little thing, a little movement from that trajectory can take you to a completely different future. So allow yourself to ask for help. Allow yourself to be helped by light light therapy, sound vibration, yoga, um, intuitives, healers, whatever you need. Allow yourself to receive that help because you deserve it, right?
exactly. And taking care of yourself and trying different things is how you're going to change. If you want to change, you can't keep doing the same thing, right? That's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So if it's not working, what's happening, it's okay. Maybe it's helping to an extent, but maybe try something new, shake it up, try something, especially if you're like, oh my God, I would never do that, then try it because, maybe you will hate it and that's okay, but maybe the reason you're really against it is because your ego knows that there's something there that, might shift you, and that's scary, and so go for it.
Yes, amazing. What are your three top tips to living a stellar life?
I would say again, the repetitive here, but presence, as much as you can do anything in your life to come to presence. So, meditating daily, really finding silence in your mind, whether that's running or fishing, or, everyone has different ways to come to silence, but finding that presence and making it a part of your life will change your life, make it more stellar. And then, secondly, spending time in nature, really making it a priority to connect with this earth, and will really change your life. And even if you're in a big city and you don't really have anything, you can go to a tree, or you can even start working with, flower essences, as a way to connect to nature, or, herbs, and, feeling what you're tuned into, or smells. There's so many ways to connect to the earth. And then the third tip is, you know, I would say forgiveness actually is what is arising now. Forgiving yourself, forgiving others, forgiving the world, right? Forgiving, letting go of, these challenges and that you're holding on to is going to just change everything for you. When you're holding on to grievances against yourself and others, you can't move forward. There's no way to move forward. It's not safe to move forward. There's no openness, there's no flexibility, And so the more you can really find that forgiveness for what's happened, the more things open up.
Incredible. Incredible. And where can people find you, connect with you, bathe in your light, love on you, learn from you?
Oh, yeah. So I've been offline a lot, but I'm getting back. in action now, which is exciting. So my Instagram is Traveling Light Temple. And my website, if you want to learn about the Lucia, is lucialightexperience.com. My intuitive site is currently under construction. I'm reformatting it. But yeah, if you're interested in an intuitive session, I do one-to-ones and with some energy healing as well, vortex healing. And so you could just reach out to me, on Instagram, Traveling Light Temple, and I'd be happy to set something up.
Yay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy we met. You are such a bright light and a beautiful soul and just a cool lady. So inspiring. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. You are such an inspiration to so many, and thanks for continuing this podcast and sharing all these voices and magic. I was, been looking through it and listening to a few, and I'm like, wow, it's so beautiful what you're sharing in the
Oh,
world, and
well,
so
thank
great to
you.
meet you too, and
I'll take it.
look forward to connecting more. Yeah, don't forget what your magic is. Yeah,
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
good.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. And thank you, listeners. Remember, do what you can to find presence and silence in your mind. Spend time in nature and connect with the earth. Forgive yourself, forgive others, and forgive the world. Let go of what you are holding on, and just be free. Just have stellar life. This is Orion. Till next time.